I'm Leslie Morris. I am an instructional technology specialist just outside of Charleston in Summerville, South Carolina, at a pretty big elementary school. We have 1,200 kids. We're K-5, well 4K actually, 5th grade. I've also taught middle school, and I've been at ITS for, this is my 5th year being in ITS. So I've been around technology for a while and I've seen it progress. To give you kind of a background about our school, we are not one-to-one, but our focus has been one-to-one for teachers right now, because we feel that when we head that direction, whatever that direction may be, BYOD, one-to-one, whichever, it all starts with teachers first. And you have to make teachers feel comfortable before you ever bring this stuff into the classroom, is what we learned and how we feel. So that's where we are with our walk. And just a little bit more background, I teach a graduate class for our district, and my principal was generous enough to give our teachers the opportunity to take that class that she paid for, and it was a mobile device class. And we pay for it through funding, and then the teachers receive their iPad. So today, what my focus is on the teacher, and not necessarily use this app with kids and use that app with kids and this app with kids. Those are all awesome tools, and definitely use those. My focus is on the teacher and classroom management, and how the teacher can use this device for their own classroom management style, their own, use it for them, basically, how to make their life a little bit easier. So I'm just showing a couple of snippets today. The Moto code is up there. There is a poll that I have, if you guys are able to connect, because I know I'm having trouble. So if you're able to do it, great. If not, that's okay. But I have a poll up there on how many of you have used two of the main ones that I'm going to go over today, which is Class Dojo. How many of you have heard of it and used it? We're going to look at it a different way. And then how many of you are familiar with and use Evernote? We're going to look at that too, and maybe a different way that you haven't thought of before. Plus some other ones that I don't know if you're familiar with or not. So I'm just this presentation isn't really a presentation. I want to actually get into the app and show you how it works. So this is more like our agenda, and I'll post this up there with a couple of notes too on our Moto page. Is basically what we're going over today are these specific apps. So I've got two noisy, stick picks are two that I want to show you, which are great. We've got Wi-Fi, photo transfer, book retriever. And then I've got Class Dojo, and of course, Evernote. I'm kind of going to get out of this and actually show you the apps themselves. Okay? All right, so starting with the first two noisy and stick pick, those are two very simple ones that I wanted to show you. So, two noisy right now, we have the free version with our classroom iPads, and what my teachers do is when they're getting ready to start class, they'll have this up on the board, and as you can see, the monitors kind of moving like this. If their whole class is really noisy and they're getting ready to start their next whatever subject area it may be, they wait until he's not crying anymore, and they wait for that level to go down. So this is a non-verbal visual way to get kids to quiet down and get settled for their class. Very simple app to use. So that's one that we use. The pro version doesn't really do a whole lot. I don't know what else it could do. I always say like pro version versus free. If it's a pro version, maybe it'll tie your shoe. I don't really know. This is what I wanted to do, So that's kind of how I look at it. Do I buy the pay version or do I not? This does what I want it to do.
You set it. You set it to.
You can
gauge.
You can in the settings here. You can set it to go higher or lower sensitivity. You can have it per group too. So like if you have multiple iPads in the classroom, you can lay one down in each group, and have it just focus on that group, so it's not picking up background noise. And like I said, you could do it more sensitive or less. As if I were a PE teacher, I would definitely have it a little less sensitive, because that's very echoey in there. But yes, you can. So that's too noisy. The next one we have is Stick Pick. This app, Stick Pick, is $2.99, I believe. I really like this app. I know that how many of you have a can, well, if you're a teacher, how many of you have a can of sticks in your room? Okay, well, this is the virtual can of sticks. But I like this because it does more than just pull a stick out. And let me show you how to kind of set it up. This is the class that I have set up already. Also, when you're working with apps, if you're new to apps and different things, you're going to notice, and I heard David say it earlier, that there are different icons and things. If you've never used an app before, you're going to see the more and more you use things, there's different icons that become familiar to you. Like the eye, for example, up top, that eye gives you information about the app. This has no instruction whatsoever, and I just opened it, so you're like, what more? There's nothing on here. If you tap on a class, when you create a class, you'll see that there are different settings down at the bottom there. And that's actually how you get to your sticks. If you've never set up a class in here before, there's the plus sign to add your class, okay? So if I go to my sticks, and I want to, I can do a couple things. I can shake it, and shake it, and it'll pick a stick, or I can tap it too. Well, once I shake it, it'll show up a student. Now with this student in particular, I have set this student to ask specific Bloom's taxonomy questions. So when that stick is pulled, and this is what it looks like when that stick is pulled, it shows you the student's name, fake student, by the way, not yet. And it shows you their question stems that I have specifically for that student. The other part I love about this is that I can select the question here and I can assess Sebastian on this particular question. So if I ask him, what facts would you select to demonstrate blah point or whatever, if I tap on assess, it records how I assessed that student verbally, so that I can pull that up in a parent conference, I can pull that up, for class participation, whatever. And I can say he got it correct or incorrect, and I even can assign a rubric to it. He was insightful, he was clear and accurate, that's great. And once I have that done, I can mark it as used, and then it saves his information. Does it download it in a nice, perfect spreadsheet? No, nothing like that, but it is a great way to assess kids and look at exactly how they answered, what they said, and all of that. It's a nice way to do that. If I wanted to add a student, I can go to my roster and add a student. You see, I only have a couple on here, but I can continually add kids if I want to very easily with that little plus sign. Again, I can add a class with a plus sign at the top. So Stick Pick is great. It's definitely worth the investment because of that recording piece, because it records everything that you can do with the student. I also like to, with a class, select my class and select a student. If I wanted to add a student to it, I'm just going to add an email real quick so I can show you. I have a couple of choices when it comes to the questioning process. So I've got Bloom's Advice, and then ESL too. So committing as an ESL student, I can select ESL and then select their ESL level, which is nice, especially for those schools that have a lot of ESL kids. I mean, that's nice. I know that our teachers sometimes struggle with having such a diverse class. It's a great way to involve your ESL kids and an easy way for you to be able to give them class participation and help them out that way. And let's see an example of an ESL question for me. I'm going to peek and select mini, because you can do that too. You can peek at your sticks. So once I select mini, here's her questions at intermediate or 3 level for ESL. And they give you question starters there. The only thing that I noticed that might kind of be a deterrent to some teachers in using this is the fact that when I choose a blooms level, I can't very easily go in and switch that blooms level for every single kid. It's like once you choose it, you have it for a while. So you might want to think about, okay, well, I'm going to choose this blooms level for each kid right now in this quarter, and the next quarter I'm going to change it, make it more challenging for some kids, less challenging for others. You know, you can definitely change it, but it's kind of once it's there and you're in the moment, it's there. Like I can't select evaluating and creating and all of that every single time I ask a question.
And you had to set up those questions on
No.
They were already
They are already set up. Those are already there. The part that you have to set up is obviously your class. So kind of today, what I'd like, one main thing that I want to tell you guys is that I know that this looks like that's a lot to set up up front, and it is once I show you everything, but once you have it, you have it. You know what I mean? And you can even get as basic as saying to an ABC, whatever, up to Z, you know, and just kind of know in your head or on a piece of paper who that's assigned to, you know, instead of having to do it every single year. But once it's there, it's there. So it takes away from writing the names on markers and you pulling out your Bloom's list of questions to all in one place, right here.
It records it, it's verbal and you're having it record what you guys are talking about? I don't quite understand.
By recording, I mean, it will assess them and then select whether they were correct or incorrect.
Do they type it in? I guess I'm curious about how they respond, what it's grading.
I see what you're saying. They respond verbally.
And it recognizes the correct words.
I do, and I have to physically put in like correct or incorrect. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I recognize whether they are correct or incorrect.
Okay.
Yes. And then I say that it's been used.
What does the, you know, let's say when you're doing your reports and you want to refer back to this, how can you do so? You said it doesn't export to an Excel file.
It
But
does.
what does it look like?
When I pull up my roster, you want committee, I go to my roster and it tells me there. So I can't necessarily print this out, but it tells me here, so I can have an entire list for a whole quarter of exactly how many answered, right, on each one. It would be great if it was standard grades too, but it's not. But at least I can kind of see on that particular day I did this standard and this is how she answered. That's what it looks like.
And then the send, like, could you send that into another app?
You can actually email it. If I had email set up on iPad, you could email it. So you can email it to her parent if she's not paying attention to class. You know? Yeah. Okay. Or whatever. So again, just to show you again where that is, I went to my class and to my roster, and then I chose the student and it showed where that is. All right, the next one. All right, so we did stick pick and too noisy so far. The next one is Wi-Fi photo transfer. How many of you have used a Wi-Fi photo transfer apps at all? Okay, this is magic, I like to say, because this eliminates the whole putting all those movies your kids create in iCloud, taking all of that stuff that they made on this iPad and grading it, or you saving it somehow, and you're like, I don't have an account, kids don't have an account, they can't get a Google Drive, they're too young, so how am I going to use it? Well, this particular Wi-Fi photo transfer app is the one that we use the most. It is the most efficient in my opinion, because I've used others and they don't work. So this one I feel is the best. And it eliminates you having to plug your iPad into a laptop to try and download all the pictures and all the videos your kids have saved to the iPad. So basically what it does is it gives you a website. So with Wi-Fi photo transfer, I tap on the app, it gives me a website, and I would enter that particular IP address, or really that address, into the browser on my laptop. Then on my laptop, every single photo, video appears from this particular iPad, and I can save whatever I want to any drive on my laptop. It actually downloads as a zip file, and I can save it. Completely eliminates the cart process where you have to plug them all in, send iTunes, blah, blah, blah. Totally eliminates that. I have not had a problem with downloading too much or too little yet. In other words, you can't really save a 40-minute video on an iPad anyway, so I haven't run into the fact where it won't download large videos. I think the biggest one I've downloaded so far has been like 17 minutes. It might have even been longer. So, because I had to record a teacher one time. So, actually, yeah, it works. It takes a while to download, so it's one of those things that you want to walk away from, maybe go out to recess and download every kid's project, but you don't have to plug anything in. It's right there. So if you guys were to type this in on a laptop right now, you would see my photo gallery from this particular iPad.
Is this the free version that does it totally?
Yeah, totally.
And if I'm a one-to-one iPad school, so if I get my own address, can the kids transfer their work to my laptop?
You would have to, on every kid's iPad, they would have to have this app. You would type this into one, it's almost like one iPad at a time then,
Right.
what you do. And you would type this address in to each one. This address should be different for each iPad.
Okay.
Yeah. And it changes, like this is completely different to what I'm gonna see at home because the IP address here is different from my IP address at home. So it's gonna change all the time. And it's really just talking through wireless is all it is.
And is it everything on their camera roll, or can they pick, it's just, I want one thing, I don't want all your selfies and all your,
Yep, you can pick one thing.
just one thing, okay.
Yes, you can pick one thing, because it gives you that option. It'll say access your whole camera roll. You can say yes, but then it says, what do you want to download? Either type in the number or click on it to select it. I wish I could pull it up for you guys, but my laptop is not connecting at all right now to the wireless. So, but yes, you can select one thing and then download one.
And then how do you go back and access it?
To get it later, it saves as a zip drive, so it pulls up as a regular old Windows Explorer menu, you know, with all the pictures there. But there's one step that a lot of my teachers forget, which is the extract all files step on an HP. So, and it'll work on a Mac too, but you have to extract the files because it does download as a zip. So you just want to make sure you say extract, and then it'll say where do you want to save them, and usually I'll save them to the desktop and then move them to my choice. Just easier for me to do that. The Wi-Fi photo transfer has saved a lot of work.
Is it better than InstaShare?
I think they're free, and there's some in-app purchases with that.
Well, I know, like, from iPad to iPad, InstaShare is free, I had to pay, it was like $3 for it to be on my computer, but from iPad to iPad, it's free.
Yeah.
But if you think it's that, yeah,
Well, this doesn't go iPad to iPad.
okay,
It only goes iPad to laptop.
okay.
But yeah, and it'll say too, like if you don't have it,
And
if it's not ready, this is one of those apps that has to be obviously connected to your photos. So if it's not working, that's the common mistake. Make sure it's connected to your photos. Make sure you have it. All right, the next one I wanted to show you is Book Retriever, which I absolutely adore. This is going to take you some time if you want to use this one. It's going to take you some time over the summer or like the last week of school when you're doing nothing and you have to assess kids, you know, and then like every textbook has been turned in and you have nothing left to do. It's a great idea to get a group of kids to do this for you. Book Retriever is a classroom library. I believe now it's a couple of dollars to use. Book Retriever has to use the Pick to Shop app. That's why I have them both up there together. But once you download Book Retriever, it'll tell you, go ahead and download the free version of Pick to Shop. And the reason why is because Book Retriever acts as your classroom library and scans ISBN codes on books. So you have your own checkout process, check-in and checkout process. So it needed a large QR code reader, and Pick to Shop does just that. So here's my Book Retriever. And as you can see, it's got my classroom library, my kids, and all that good stuff. There's a lot of them out there. I know there's a lot of classroom library apps out there. Some are free, some are paid. I like this one the best, mainly because if the kid has an overdue book, I can email the parent like that right from here. So, or if the kid lost a book, again, I want them to pay for it, or lost equipment, because you can even scan in basketballs. It doesn't have to be a book, which I know that. So, yeah, it doesn't have to be a book, because it could be honestly anything. Then you can email the parent right from here, and you can get your stuff back. So I love that. But basically, if I want to add a book, I would just scan it. I can also manually enter the ISBN code, which would take you forever. But your classroom libraries are huge, I know, so that's why I say get some kids to help you and scan each one in. When you do scan with an ISBN number, it'll even sometimes, not all books are in their library yet, but sometimes it'll even pull up the Lexile, and it'll even give you the author name and all of that. You can put that in later, but sometimes it's smart enough to recognize everything just from that one code, which is really nice. Here's my list of kids. Again, you'll see it in the thing. But if I have parent access to each one of them, then I can email the parents and tell them that they lost it or whichever. Great.
So, when a student wants the book, do they scan?
What they would do is I would tap on checkout, and I would scan it, and then take it home.
And I guess you just select that student that's checking it out.
Yes. Yes. So once I hit the scan, it'll scan it for me, and then it'll come up what student. I tap on the student.
Do you have to enter each student individually, or can you report classroom?
That's one of those things too. Yeah. You do have to enter your student individually. Yeah. So another thing, like say pick for a student.
What if you've got multiples of the same book?
You can say how many copies you have.
Okay, great.
So if you're doing like like a level library thing where you want to hand out different copies of a novel, you just tell it how many you have. Makes a nice name. Other questions about?
Does that make ISBN in the code so big that not both students will not keep it straight?
It can. I don't have it hooked up to a printer, but once I scan the barcode, it recognizes any barcode. So once I scan that barcode, I just can type in exactly what that item is. Yeah, because it'll come up. It'll come up with author and stuff like that. I can leave all that blank, but I can just say the name of this book is basketball. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. But it will kind of work around the system.
What if you find a book like laying around the classroom and you want to know who checked it out? Can you scan it and it will tell you who's checked out too?
Yes. Yes. Once you scan it, it'll actually ask you what you do in that situation is you want to say check in, and then it'll actually scan it and it'll say who has it checked out. You can cancel that then after you want to keep, you want to make sure that belongs to that student, or you can check it back in and then check it back out. But yeah, the ISBN code here, I don't have a printer hooked up to this, so I can't put it, but you can. Other questions about this? They have a great help website too, Book Retriever. And Book Retriever and, well, I'll get to some others, they really listen to teachers, so if you have an idea of something you want to add, they will help you out. So I found that if I email them, they're pretty quick to respond and help you out. They're great. They're tech help site.
ISBN barcodes by name for printer those out of label.
I would think that you would be able to, but I'm not 100% because I haven't Probably so. Alright, so there's Wi-Fi photo transfer and book retriever. We've got Class Dojo. Next, I noticed some hands with Class Dojo. You're familiar with that one? Okay. I'm going to show you a different way of how we do it at our school. With the fine arts and PE teachers, you're like, there is absolutely no way that my fine arts teachers can enter like 500 kids. We have 1,200 kids at our school. My PE teacher's like, there's no way I'm using this thing. So then we kind of thought about it and we found a different way to use it. We kind of went around the block, so I'm going to show you how they do it. We obviously use it for PBIS. You know, you can actually print out the data that Class Dojo collects. So if you're a PBIS school, you can have that data and use it for PBIS points. But how my fine arts teachers use it is a little bit different than my grade level teachers. So this is Class Dojo. And so they have decided to name the entire school when they set up their class division. So instead of setting up a class, they actually set up the entire school. So I've got a demo and I have my own school. So when they start their day, they tap on RES and they start their class. Well, I guess I'll just tell you. When they start their class, they have every class listed individually. So 1A, 1B, 1C, all the way up to 1K. Then we have 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, and those are the students in their class for the school. So they actually give points to entire classes instead of individual students. So that's how they kind of handle their Class Dojo side. It really does make a difference in their classroom management, they noticed, because their class rules usually apply to whole group settings. So especially when kids are working hard, if they're too noisy, they'll give them a negative point. If they're working really hard and everybody's working together, they'll give them a positive point. So it's school class instead of individual kids. That's just how we use it. Yeah. All right. Sorry, that wasn't. And then Evernote's probably the biggest one. How many of you are Evernote users? Okay. With Evernote, we do a lot with Evernote, and I really focus on this with my teachers. This is one main tool for them that kind of has really saved a lot of paper at our school. We do everything from RTI data collection to assessment data collection to keeping track with different transportation checklists. I mean, any kind of checklist that you have on a clipboard, my teachers have here now. We have recently gone with the K1 and 2 classes to a standards-based report card. It's a little more difficult to keep a grade book per standards-based report card, and this has changed their life. So what I did for you guys is I created an Evernote note for you that's kind of like a template, and I looked at that in a photo. But to kind of, we could spend an entire session just on Evernote. So I just kind of wanted to show you exactly how we use it at our school. And the reason why I say you can store data safely is because you can actually lock your data. So if you have a premium account, you ever know, this is what it looks like on the app, which is a lot different than what it looks like on your computer. But if you have the premium account, you can lock different notebooks so that they're only accessible by password. Premium accounts are about $50 a year, completely worth it because of the amount of space that you have. Just to kind of show you, this is the way that I've organized my notebooks. Starting with data, and this year I decided to even do an RES, my school name, and then I broke it down into data, plus my walkthroughs for when I go visit teachers' rooms. We also have school-wide schedules. I also have notes for after-school meetings that I attend, all in one. We share these notebooks too among our admin team, so we all have access and we can pull up anything at any time. It makes it really easy for the administrator who's out at buses to see, how is Johnny really supposed to go home? You're not tracking down the teacher to find exactly what their transportation tracker looks like right here. Teachers use it, like I said, for their data collection. So, like we do universal screeners. So we use SMI and SRI, and they just send it right to their Evernote notebook when it's in there for them. And there's no longer, they have to print it out and keep a data notebook. They'll just make a universal screener notebook and it's right there. So they can pull it up at any time. Another thing that my teachers do, especially in younger grades, is they have a notebook for every child. So like, they'll make a notebook for every child. So, for example, again, fake student, not real. But what they'll do is they'll start with the first ERA, then they can record with Evernote on their iPad. They can actually record voice. So they'll have the student read to them, and they'll have the ERA in here saved as well. They can also record different checklists and things. So like my kindergarten teacher will make a checklist of all the phonemes, or they might make a checklist of all the letters. And then for every student, they'll just copy that same exact checklist into every kid's folder. And they just check off when the kid has a letter and when they don't. They can even write in there to say when they get it and when they don't. So that's what I made for you all today, is a checklist template, and that's what I share with you. It's in Edmodo, so it should be showing. Actually, I scheduled it not to show for a while. So it'll come next. So I just scheduled it. But the checklist template, let me show you. And let me tell you this too, if you're gonna make a checklist like this, or if you're gonna create something first in Evernote, like your notebooks and your notes and all of that, my suggestion is actually to start at your laptop and then access everything from your iPad. You actually can't make a checklist on the iPad yet. They don't have the function to make a table yet. So you can only do that on your laptop right now. So once I've made it though, it's in there, right? So all I have to do now that I have this template is I rename it up here to whatever name I want to call it, like transportation, or like even Thanksgiving Day party, you know, and check off who's bringing in what. Add my student names here to the list, and then check off whether they bring it or they don't, whether they get the letter or they don't, how they went home that day or how they didn't, if they had their homework that week or they didn't. You know, there's a million different ways that you can use this checklist. And my teachers, my kindergarten teachers especially, they had papers everywhere. They would like handwrite the alphabet and like put a kid's name at the top and be like, write down exactly when they got, oh, you know. So this is how they do it. And I do like the fact that now, since I have this checked off and I have this square kind of highlighted, I can write in here like a date, for example. Today's the 20th. So they got that particular letter today, you know, and I can write that in there exactly when we got it. But like I said, with Evernote, I can spend all day on it, because my teachers love it. But that's just basically one way they do it. And really the focus of today is kind of using these apps, and you want to set up everything first and kind of get everything organized the way you want it, and then start using them in the classroom.
When the template you had for the learning record, like a teacher does it learning record, is that, you have to create it, scan it, how do you get it in?
What I did was, well, actually, a teacher of ours, we use DRA kits. So she had, you know, we have all the DRAs. We actually, our school has a professional development Edmodo page. And she scanned them all in there. Or did she?
I think she's the
I think she scanned them. I think she scanned them all at our copier, printer copier.
Yeah.
You know, made a
Yeah.
PDF. And then she loaded them to our page, to our Edmodo page. So it's kind of like an app smash. So let me show you. When you're in Edmodo, I'm signing on. When you're in Edmodo, it'll pull up in there, and then you can use that open in,
Right.
little box arrow, and open it in Evernote. And it'll save to whatever number you want it to save to.
So if we have ours on, like, the kit we use, if they're on a disk, I don't have to scan it, can I just open it? Is that-
As long as you can save it as a PDF, probably so. Other questions? What information I know?
Going back to the, what was it, the why training program? This one. But one teacher with the URL, the transfer address, then you have a class iPads. And I did hear you say the app has to be on each device. So then each student can send their image to that. Okay. Thought so, but I thought I missed it.
Yes, that is correct. They just give you, each student will give you that web address.
Right.
You type that in, and then you have access to their photos,
Okay.
which might also be a way to
Yeah.
see what they're taking pictures of. Yeah, I guess you can kind of monitor it that way too, because you will have access to that whole camera roll. Other questions?
You said it was $50 a year, is that for a school usage or a one-person usage on one person?
One, however, you can contact Evernote, and if you want to go for a school-wide purchase like that, they do offer some discounts. So it's through Evernote Business, if you want to do it that way.
Do the kids use Evernote for keeping notebooks too? And so for the kids, do you need to get the professional, like the pro for kids? Is there enough space for that?
Our kids don't right now. They're K-5. We haven't trained them in that. Right now, we're kind of training our kids in how to use Edmodo. They could save their work in Edmodo too. They have a library in there. So we haven't used it for that. But if you're a 9 through 12 teacher, I highly recommend the kids use this. I know the kids at Franklin Academy do. That's where I learned about it a couple of years ago. So if you want to ask me them how they
I know
purchased it.
I use Notability for my kid, and I don't like, I was having a hard time getting my mind around, and like I had a hard time, I wanted to love Evernote, but we kind of broke up, and maybe we should get back together, I don't know.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Evernote is one of those things where like you really need just to kind of like ignore the world for like an afternoon.
Right, okay,
And sit down and get to know it and have coffee and like talk.
okay.
So, no, because I'm totally there with you.
Yeah.
And because it's so different on your laptop versus your iPad, I suggest using your laptop first. I can switch
Okay.
over and show you, because I do actually
I
have
would
it.
do whatever it says, trying to do everything on my iPad, and it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just not.
I mean, to be honest, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm
go
just
ahead.
thinking- I was just gonna interject too, we do have some teachers that are paperless, they went that route 2 or 3 years ago as a pilot. They set up Evernote notebooks for every individual student, so like second grade, she is the controller of the notebook, the owner of the notebook. But students know how to email their work into that notebook.
Right.
And she can then email writing samples out to parents or a journal entry out to parents. The parents respond to it. They have the Evernote email address. They can email it back in. And it's a secure way to do that. But then when the child picks up the iPad the next day, here's the response that mom wrote last night or dad wrote. But she also keeps all the data, DRAs. She can pull that up. When she sits down to a conference, she will literally just pop open, Mason Morris's notebook and all of his DRAs that he's done throughout the year are there, all of his various check sheets and assessments, writing samples, all of that's right there. The notability you can open in Evernote
Yeah.
and then just drop it in Mason's notebook, and it's all right there in that one notebook. You just have to be cognizant, and Leslie can tell you that, of how you name things in your notebook. Alphabetize, I usually alphabetize last name, especially if it's student, last name, first name, and then a date. And then when you pop open that notebook, everything will be right there in order together.
You can see how we named our stuff for 2014, 2015. Like last year, I had data 2013, 2014, and then I had school 13, 14, and then I was like, oh, I can't do that. So I made one stack for my school for this year, and everything for this year is underneath it. Otherwise, it would get out of control. But I made sure that no matter what notebook I made this year, that I said it was this year. So I marked every single one with 14, 15. And you're right, it's just a digital notebook that I can carry around forever. I do like this option too in Evernote. If your kids move on and you want to share that information, if you only want to share one note with a parent, or if you want to share the entire notebook with a parent, you can do that. Because in Evernote, you can create a public link to everything. And once you create that public link to that note, no matter how many times you update it, the link never changes, but the information on the note does. So I even had one teacher who experimented with that, gave that link out to her parents for the year as her newsletter. She tried it, didn't like it though, because it doesn't archive your newsletters. A lot of times you want to archive them. So, but you could change the information that's on there, and the link stays the same.
Another thing that's nice about Evernote Leslie is phenomenal, and as an administrator, when we sit down to conference with parents or have various meetings, instead of running around in 15 different notebooks, the teacher will say, Ms. Blanchard, I just shared Mason Morris's notebook with you, thank you, and I'll pop it open, we can talk, have conversation, look at various data sheets, and then she can break the link later if it's not something that I need to keep, but you can easily share notebooks and break that sharing as well, so that you can see the information that you need to see. And as an administrative team, we share all our data notebooks that way, like Leslie showed you, where you have RES 2014-15. I have last year's, the year before. So when we're looking at certain points, checkpoints in the year, and I'm looking at longitudinal data from class to class, I can look at where they were last year and the year before, because we have those shared notebooks for data as well for our school.
So like here's our fast map, I don't know if you guys use fast map, but this is our fast map report that gets mailed in there. Some programs, if you have like big ones that did a lot of work for you, like I don't know, do any of you use Compass Learning honestly with this? No. You can actually have the reports emailed into your Evernote notebook. We're talking about emailing directly into Evernote. Every single Evernote account has its own specific email address, so you can email documents and things right into Evernote without even having to go to your desktop, put it in there, blah, blah, blah. You just email it to that Evernote account. So, yeah, Evernote is one of the things where you just kind of
I just need to sit with one of my tech trainers and say, let's do this.
yeah.
Once
Here's
you
the
do,
other
you'll go back,
Okay.
and you
Yeah.
get the $50 would be, there's no way I would never not to use double negative. And the teachers are the same way.
Okay.
$50, not a problem.
So does your school provide it for the teachers, or do the teachers pay for it themselves? if they
I
wanna use
provide it for my admin team and then grade level reps, because we do a lot of shared data, and that saves those big fat notebooks, because when you look at a notebook, you know, I estimated the cost of one of the big fat notebooks, depending on what I'm putting in there with dividers. The notebook itself is like $30 now, and then depending on what you're putting in there, your notebook can be $100 to $150 notebook, and I've got to provide several. So, you know, it's worth it to me to pay the $50 for those different key people. For most of our teachers, just having the free account is enough, but then the ones that choose to embrace it in a way where they make the notebook for individual students, they'll take, in South Carolina, they get a $250, $275 check at the beginning of the year, and a bunch of them, just $50 of that is their Evernote premium account, so that they can, and you can put pictures in there, you can record videos in there, there's no limit to the space, it doesn't take up space on here, it's all in Evernote and easy to access. You can get it from your phone, from the computer, from the iPad. If I forget these two at home, I can log in on that device and access what I need to.
I do, the free count, I'm still running free because I just want to see like how far I can get with this free count, because I just kind of want to see what happens. The free count, what happens with that is it rolls over every month. So you get how much space now off the top of my head. Let's say you get 10 megs for this month. At the end of this month, those 10 megs save, and then you get another 10 megs the next month. And those save, and you get another 10 megs. So, yeah. So it's not like you only get 10 megs every month. It kind of like saves everything and ignores what you had before, and then gives you 10 megs to use. That fills up very quickly, though, if you're doing a lot of screen recording and a lot of picture and a lot of video. So you want to think about that. And a lot of PDFs, actually. So you want to think about that, which is why the purchase, the $50 purchase a year is great. So you kind of want to think about that. I don't have a whole lot of screen recording because I don't need it. You know, I'm just the IT, I play data. So the other thing I was going to mention too is about your organization. If you look on the side here, you can see how I have my notebooks organized into stacks and that kind of thing. The way that I think about it is a stack. So this RES 2014-2015 is the huge notebook. And then every one of these underneath to me is the tab divider. And then in the tab divider are the notes that I've written or put in between it. Evernote doesn't call it that. Evernote says stack, notebook, note. The way my brain thinks about it is huge 3-ring binder, notebook, or tab dividers, and then that's how and that's why I fell in love with it, because I had to think about it that way, you know, before I started. Other questions?
Would doc scan work to scan something and
You don't need it. This actually does that for you. You can actually scan a document right in Evernote with your iPad, and it scans it right in there. You can write on it and document on it, so it's right in there. It's not as maybe user-friendly right now as like DocScan or even Notability. Those are a little bit more user-friendly, but you can save those both to Evernote. But Evernote will do it. Yeah, it will scan it. Hopefully you guys learned something about it. I just want to throw too many apps at you, because I know that's all you've been learning today. So I really wanted to show you some of the main ones that I know the teachers can alleviate. Maybe it's a little time up front, but it does alleviate your work later. And that's what I think is the most important thing. Thank you for coming today.